usually works. Usually works today. Usually, except for that, I can't remember.
This work session, regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that adequate notice of this work session, regular meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, was made by the posting on the bulletin board at the municipal complex and transmitted to the officially designated newspapers a list of dates annually, indicating that this work session, regular meeting, would take place at the Franklin Township Municipal Complex at 7 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday, January 22nd, 2013. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for the invocation, which will be given by Councilwoman Kimberly Francois. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
O God, the creator and redeemer of all the faithful, hear our supplications, and through your infinite love and mercy, graciously grant us the strength and power in our thoughts and decisions to be for the benefit of all people at all times. Amen.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll of the council.
Councilman Chase, Councilwoman Francois,
Here.
Councilman Kramer,
Here.
Mayor LaBrue,
Here.
Councilman Prasad, Councilman Regan,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sherman,
Here.
Councilman Vasanella,
Here.
Councilman Wright.
Here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Somebody's mic.
Okay, in a moment I'll go over how the meeting's going to proceed and let you know of times when people can speak in the public. First, if you want to follow along on the meeting, we have our agendas and associated resolutions and ordinances over by our clerk, Ms. McCarthy. Please feel free to get up anytime and get those, take a look. They're usually on our website by the weekend before the meeting, so you could always do that and click on the ordinance resolution and get the whole copy in front of you. So for right now, we're at number 5 on the agenda. Commendations is from regarding our new New Jersey Farm Bureau president and one of our favorite sons for generations, Reich Saddam. So Deputy Mayor Sherman, you want to join us?
Rise.
Great. Thank you. Whereas Reich Saddam is the operator of Saddam Farms of Somerset, New Jersey, a 300-acre family-owned farm, the original acreage of which has been in the Saddam family since 1713. Is that amazing? And whereas Reich Saddam, a 1978 graduate of Franklin High School, now I know how old you are, a 1982 graduate of the University of Maine with a Bachelor of Science degree, a partner in Saddam Insurance Agency from 1987 to the present, has spent his life as a contributing member of the community of the Township of Franklin, as a resident farmer and also as president of the Chamber of Commerce, chair of the Agricultural Advisory Committee, and member of the Environmental Committee. And whereas Reich Sadam, who has served as second vice president of the New Jersey Farm Bureau from 2006 to the present, has now been elected president of the New Jersey Farm Bureau for a 2-year term. Now therefore, I, Brian Levine, Mayor of the Township of Franklin of Somerset, State of New Jersey, on behalf of the Township Council and the citizens of the Township of Franklin, extend our congratulations and commendations to Reich Sadam for his accomplishments and contributions to the farming industry of the Township of Franklin and the State of New Jersey. Congratulations. Thank you so much for all you do.
Very good. Here, you wanna-
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and the whole council and Township Clerk for this commendation. I want to recognize a couple of people. Ed Seidel, in the back of the room, is not a resident of Franklin Township. He is the president of the Somerset County Board of Agriculture. He and I work together on a number of farming issues throughout the county and the state. But I would like to recognize an 11th generation farmer. That's my father, Abe. And right behind him, the 13th generation farmer, J. Paul Sadam. And no farm is complete without a mom, my mother, Abe Sadam, Aunt Sadam, rather. And my sister, Robin, she and I work together in the insurance business. And my sister, Sally, who helps take care of all the properties here in Franklin Township. And my best friend in the world, Kathy Nicola, councilwoman in North Brunswick. So I think I covered everybody. Oh, Paul. And my brother-in-law, Paul Corkery, who helps me from time to time when I run into desperate situations. But thank you, everybody, for this comment. It's a pleasure to, farming is what I love to do. I've lived here in Franklin all my life. I think I will continue that. But I would like to point out, if nobody knows what Farm Bureau is, and I don't think we have a lot of members here in the audience, but you should be, by the way. If you like to eat and you're concerned about agriculture and keeping farming in New Jersey, become a member of Farm Bureau. We are a grassroots organization that does advocacy for agriculture throughout the state. We're 12,000 members strong in New Jersey, and 6.1 million in the nation. It's a pretty big group, Farm Bureau, and we do good things for agriculture. I do have a gift for members of the council. We have a dozen eggs for everybody. Sorry, I didn't know all you folks were coming. I would have brought more. But they are Franklin Township eggs, yes, sir.
I'm just glad you didn't bring them to distribute them at high velocity.
No. I'll hand them out real slow.
Want to execute on that option?
Don't give him any ideas,
We'll
Phil.
give you a suggestion.
But thank you very much for this. This is wonderful.
Thank you
I appreciate
very
it.
much for everything.
Thank you.
Now we get it.
Nobody move. Do this real quick and get back to it. It's less than $20.
Less than $20.
We can do it.
Hey, Dr. Chase.
Tell that to the audience.
Thank you so much.
Oh, boy.
I've never gotten a gift like this ever in my whole life.
Thank you.
Nobody brings them into
I
closed
need-
session.
We were just about out of eggs. I needed to get more.
No milk?
Oh, he's autographing.
Ooh, autograph.
Okay, thanks. Okay, just a point for Franklin and how we're interested and care for our farming community. When our current governor, Chris Christie, was only a few months in office, spring or summer of 2010, we got a call asking for for him to visit the town. Now, he does his town hall meetings there. It's just kind of being shaken out. And what we did is we brought him to one of the farms in town because that was important to us, and that's still part of our identity. So that was one of the earlier ones that the current governor did. So we're now and thank you very much, and glad to have our esteemed colleague from across the street, across Route 27 here. Thank you for visiting. We're now at item number 6 on the agenda, the mayor's report. And as I said, we've got ordinances, resolutions, and the agenda over by our clerk, Ms. McCarthy. Please feel free to get up. It's usually available again, usually the weekend before the meeting on the web, on our website. Please always feel free to do that. View us on our cable access channel. There will be a couple times in this meeting for people to speak, and actually 3 altogether. 2 will relate to particular ordinances. That's later on. Those ordinances relate to raffles and some street lighting. But if you want to speak of anything of a general nature, that is coming up very shortly after the Deputy Mayor's report, which will be public discussion. I'll emphasize that again. So that'll be the only time to speak of something of a general nature, and we certainly want to hear from anyone who wants to speak to us. In general, our council meetings are the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of the month, exceptions in July, August, and December when it is only the 2nd Tuesday of the month. We very well may discuss tonight additional meetings for our budget hearings and such as that, but that'll come in a few moments. You can certainly, as I said, look on our website. You can sign up for updates. When anything's happening, you will get an email, and you can keep knowing what's happening in town. My mug for this meeting is Dr. Martin Luther King. We just passed Martin Luther King Day, and this is actually from one of the breakfasts in town. It's probably, and almost assuredly, the largest Martin Luther King event in central New Jersey. We have at the Doubletree Hotel here. This is the 16th consecutive year. There were hundreds of people there. Many of the council were there also. I'm honored to give a greeting on behalf of the town there, and certainly all of us will follow his work and legacy. And just an interesting note, the keynote speaker this year, Raymond Brown, an attorney, talk show host, he did an especially good job on his keynote. I admire that very much. Coming up also, again, I'm shifting. I'm not going to go through the whole diatribe of things I've done or things that are happening in town, just kind of looking more globally. The New Jersey Conference of Mayors is this week. Hopefully we'll emphasize our fair share of relief from the storm, the Hurricane Sandy, our fair share of education funding, which again, there's one pot, it's divvied up among the states, and sometimes the suburbs fall short. And also keeping pressure on community development block grants. That's money that comes in from the federal to the state to make sure we get certainly our fair share there. In relation to that, on the weekend, there's going to be a statewide event from Building 1 New Jersey. Anyone can come. Anyone from council is invited, where they emphasize especially older suburbs, our look at the fair share of funding, especially regarding education. So I'll peek in there to see how that's working. During this time of year, our many fire companies and first aid squads are having their officer installations. So I want to congratulate the outgoing officers and the incoming ones for fire, first aid. They do a great job. All the volunteers. And it's really fascinating to think all the many men and women who give of themselves when they could be out doing something for themselves, but instead they give of themselves to people in town and our visitors and our business people, most of whom they do not know and will never know them, but will put their lives on the line. That's not a cliche, because a few years ago we sadly lost one of our firefighters in a working fire. So my salute to them. And that concludes the mayor's report. So next we have our deputy mayor's report from Deputy Mayor Rosalind Sherman.
Thank
It's item
you.
7 on your agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to mention that the Franklin Township Cultural Arts Commission did have a display up at the Martin Luther King Breakfast on the Emancipation Proclamation, which is our theme for 2013. We have several programs planned around the Emancipation Proclamation. The next one will be a presentation at the library on February 20th having to do with gospel singers and the use of song in the time when people were slaves. So it will be a wonderful presentation. I suggest you let people know that you want to come and sign up for it. I also would like to congratulate our new president, Barack Obama. Hopefully all of the difficulty and the partisanship of the election is over, and we'll hope to move toward a better situation than we've had and working together in the future. I also just wanted to talk about the end of the year. What is a time when we survey people to see if they're interested in renewing their seats on our boards and commissions. We have several openings, so if anyone is interested, the Recreation Council has several openings. We have several on the Agricultural Advisory Committee. Yay, we need help. And cable television, and the Historic Preservation Advisory Commission. So if anyone would be interested, please contact Anne Marie and let her know if you are interested in serving on any one of those committees. And the last thing I do want to mention, I would like to amend the agenda as it has been presented. I would like to suggest we have an executive session scheduled for the end of the meeting. I'd like to suggest that we change the order of that and have the executive session after the public discussion. Often what happens is people have to wait around very long. It can be hours until we get to the executive session if there's something going on there that they're interested in. So our thought was, let's do it earlier in the meeting, and this way most people will have spoken and probably left at that point, which is usually what happens. And then those specifically interested in the executive session will then not have to wait through the rest of what we do to get to that point. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make that, do I have to make a motion for that? That we amend the agenda and have the executive session at the end of the public discussion.
Okay.
Discussion.
Okay, so, yeah, the motion is to move number 19 on the agenda, executive session regarding litigation, E&J equities, commonly call that the billboard issue, to immediately after the public discussion. So we'll have the public discussion so we can hear, then we'll do the executive session, and in that way, if we will or will not take any action on that, and that's what you're interested in, you won't have to wait till the end of the meeting. Deputy Mayor Sherman is saying we'll do that immediately after. So the consequence of that, just quickly, is, okay, public discussion. If this passes, we'll go meet in private, and then when that's done, we'll come back out and continue the meeting. So that's the motion. Is there a second to that?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Councilman Regan, discussion?
Yes, I don't have an issue with moving it up, but in light of the fact that we do have second reading ordinances and that there may be people here for that, we kind of pushing that out. So my suggestion, if it's acceptable to the deputy mayor, is to move it after 14. So that way the people who are here, if they're here for the second reading on items, because that's when there is public input
Right.
on these, if we do it after that, we can push out the approval, like, we can really mess with it by, saying 12 and 13 can get pushed out, so that way 14 can get moved up to 12, and then executive session would then take place. What would be
I
then
think
14?
that's fair. We can move that one, the second readings of the ordinances up. That is a very good suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, so just so I understand, are we saying, okay, public discussion, then 14AB, and then executive session?
Right.
Yes,
And then back to
the regular,
number 9, standing committee reports?
that would be what you just said.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
Yes, that's as I view it.
That's fine, yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. Okay.
It's a
The
definite.
motion, and the seconder approves that? Whoever seconded
Well,
that?
Seconded.
Okay, so what's changed a little bit is, since there's a couple items which will have a public hearing, first we'll go to public discussion, if this passes, and then number 14, where people can speak on ordinances, we'll hear about those particular ordinances. If anyone wants to, then we'll pass them. Then go to the executive session, and then come on back to the regular meeting. Okay, so moved and seconded. Other discussion? If not, all in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. I'll keep you posted as we hit each item. So Deputy Mayor Sherman, anything else for you?
No, that was everything. Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll go to public discussion. And again, this will be the only time to speak of anything of a general nature. In a moment, we're going to look at the particular ordinances, but those won't be of a general nature. Those will be on those particular ones. And those, one relates to how we approve raffles, and the other is some lighting issues. So we're now at public discussion. Is there a motion from the council to open the meeting for public discussion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Meeting is open for public discussion on any item of interest. If anyone wishes to speak, please raise your hand, and I'll recognize you. Come to the podium, give us your name and address. Please note we are being audio taped, videotaped, broadcast on our local cable access channel. And as is our policy, we ask each person to keep their remarks to 5 minutes or less, and that way we can hear from as many people as we can. If we can answer your question, if you've got a question or your point within that time, we will be glad to do that. If not, we'll come back to you with an answer. As is our policy, everyone can come up once per meeting, no yielding of time. Please direct all your comments to the council, and if we're going to answer, we'll so designate.
My name is Barry Franzischen. I live at 305 Cedar Avenue in the Somerset section of Franklin Township. My father is here tonight. He lives also in that same area on Mercury Street, 23 Mercury Street. My brother has a home in the Somerset section right along 287, and I'm here tonight to speak on the billboard issue. First, I want to reiterate that the community in our area is very much opposed to any changes in terms of allowing for electronic billboards along the highway. I'm speaking on behalf of many in the community, and I'm speaking in opposition to changing or lessening the regulations to allow for a lighted billboard along 287. The last time I was here, which was almost a year ago, I spoke about the fact that we had already had someone killed in the area. My father actually witnessed the accident on 287. The kid was killed right in front of him as he was on his back porch. I'm sure he was distracted when he went under the truck and was decapitated. But, you know, I would hate to see us do anything to encourage further accidents of that nature. So the main reason I'm opposed to it is obviously for safety reasons. Obviously, I'm opposed to it, and the community is opposed to it for environmental reasons. It'll be an eyesore and a nuisance. It'll devalue the homes in that area. And I don't really believe you want to create a Las Vegas strip all lit up along 287 from Weston Canal Road all the way to the other side. So for those reasons, I'm opposed, and the people that I represent are opposed to this. I don't know if the council's familiar with this. The last time I was here, we had almost overwhelming support from everybody that was before me, and I thank you for your support in, fighting the billboard issue, going to court, spending our taxpayer resources to fight the issue. But I didn't even know this was going to be an issue tonight until I saw the Courier News. Did anyone see this edition, perhaps? It was front page in the Courier News on Thursday, January 10th, 2013. I hope many of you saw this. There's an entire article here. I'm not going to read the entire article, but there were some things in the article that were particularly discomforting to me as I read through it. I'll just share a few of those remarks in the paper with you, and explain to you why I was so upset. It says here in the third paragraph of the article that EJ Equities owners Craig and Jonathan Slash said that they plan to reapply to the Township's Planning Board before the council decides on January 22nd whether to amend the ordinance to more specifically explain the need for the ban as ordered by the judge or appeal his decision. No, sneak it in, right at the wire, behind your back, when nobody's really looking. We've had this attempted once before. Later on, he goes on to say, our plan is to get the application in before the ordinance can be amended. The amended ordinance would block subsequent applications for electronic billboards, but we would be grandfathered in. Again, let's sneak it through the back door. When nobody's looking, nobody's watching. Well, we're watching. We're watching very closely tonight. We hope that none of the people who were so strongly in favor of fighting this initially are going to turn tail and run. Because the only wasted money you can have is when you don't fight and when you don't see the decision through to the very end. And I certainly hope people that I voted for in the past, many of you sitting before me tonight, aren't going to go back on what you pledged to do to the community last year. I didn't expect to have to come out here tonight for this again. Then he goes on to say, oh, there's another couple of comments here. I want to thank, obviously, Deputy Mayor Raj Sherman. I know you've been opposed to this right along. Mr. Fasanella, I want to thank you and everybody else on the council who's been opposed to this. And Mayor Levine, I really hope that you will consider what I'm saying, again, as you did last time I was here. And, you know, there's a comment in here that says it's attributed to you, and I don't believe it, but I say it's attributed to you. An appeal would be an additional waste of time. I hope you don't feel that way. Many of these billboards are industrial areas or on highways that don't affect the quality of life for people like it will in our town. That's a direct quote on you, Roz. Levine also expressed concern about tarnishing the township's business-friendly reputation. I hope that's not coming from you. I hope that's an error. I don't think this township has been anti-business in the past. To the contrary, many of the people that I've spoken to have said we've been too business-friendly in the past. We've developed too much, too quickly, too fast. Then it goes on to read further. The council passed the subsequently disputed ordinance which allows for static billboards. Then my friends, the Slash brothers, are quoted in here. They also threatened to move their 40-year business, the father built outdoor wherever, to China. We're going to do a little outsourcing, I guess. Rotorclip is supposedly the country's largest manufacturer of ring fasteners for ball bearings and the only U.S. exporter of the product to China. I'm sure they wouldn't have as many environmental problems in China. I'm sure they wouldn't be concerned about how it impacted the community in China. And I'm sure they wouldn't be too worried about the communists listening and taking into account their right to free speech and criticisms. And then it goes on further to say, before the lawsuit, the brothers were considering donating one single public service announcement for every 20 messages. And it goes on to say, it will have to be determined whether that deal will remain intact. It was a waste of time and money. I could have offered 2 more jobs in Franklin Township. And I'll close basically saying this. I hope that this council continues to represent the constituents who elected it and stand firm in opposition to this nightmare on the highway and this safety hazard on the highway. And I thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Franzisian. Now, just a point on the timing. Our timer's working. No, you're fine. It's my thing to signal you. If you hear one tone goes off, that means 3 minutes has elapsed. And when there's multiple tones and I missed it, that means 5 minutes has elapsed. Because it's been broached, I'm going to ask for our attorney, Mr. Raynone, to give us a brief summary on what's happened legally on this issue, please.
As council knows, and as members of the public may know, there was a trial before Judge Buxbaum for 3 days. I believe it was last week in August, 27th, 28th, and 29th of August. And the decision that was rendered on January 9, 2013 was the decision rendered, essentially the judgment rendered by the court from that trial. The reason there was a story in the Courier News the next day is because obviously the newspapers get copies of the decisions of the court because they're made public on the court's website, and I know that the Courier News had been tracking it, and this is the first council meeting that has occurred since that time. It should also be noted that the township, following my consultation with the township manager, has in fact filed a motion for a stay of the judge's decision, all done in an effort to give council as much time as possible to be able to make some kind of determination as to how they would move forward. The decision itself was long, but was kind of broke down to a couple of main issues. The township's position was that this was not an item that rose to a level of constitutional dimension because the ordinance in fact permitted billboards and therefore permitted speech, and it only controlled and prohibited a specific feature of a billboard. And it's not lit billboards, it's digital billboards, because virtually every billboard is actually lit. The other thing that we should keep in mind, so that when we talk about the ordinance in terms of its context, is that this ordinance, under any circumstance, would allow only one digital billboard in Franklin Township, and that would be at that one location in Franklin Township. So I don't want anybody to think that it's going to be, there'll be a row of billboards there. There may be 2 billboards on that site, but only one of them would be digital. I think it's probably large enough to have a digital and a static billboard, but in any event, the DOT permit would only permit one digital billboard at that location. So essentially, the trial court said, yes, this is of constitutional dimension, and because of that, the burden then becomes on the township to support the ordinance, as opposed to a normal ordinance where the burden is on the person challenging it to prove that the ordinance is inappropriate. Essentially, what the court determined was that the evidence before it was that there was no conclusive evidence that digital billboards are safe. The township's position, were unsafe, there was no, in fact, what they determined, I guess you caught me, there was no actual evidence as to whether they were safe or unsafe. That actually that there were studies on both sides and there was no conclusive evidence either way. The township's position was that that it appropriately acted to ban them until such time as there was proof that they were safe. The court determined that absent evidence that they were unsafe, that the Constitution would prohibit us passing an ordinance that outlawed digital billboards. The court also, on the second issue, which was the character of the community, this issue of, will it become Las Vegas or that kind of issue, and I'm not sure that's how the context that it went to the court, found that one digital billboard would not change the character of the community. So that kind of is the thumbnail of where it was. Obviously, there's going to be a closed session on it, at which I'll go into more detail for council on some different issues, but that was a summary of what the decision was. And obviously, anybody who read the decision would see that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir? Oh, yeah, please. And then. Did you want to speak? Okay, then you can go after him.
Hi, my name is Patrick Morris. I live at 33 Mattawang Drive in Somerset. Been a proud member of this community for 25 years. Raised 2 kids, had 3 different homes in the town. And first off, I'd like to say, I don't really think that we should disparage like a solid corporate citizen in the Slass brothers, okay? Any kind of comments about China or whatever, not really needed. They invested a lot in this business. 2008, when the whole world was going this way, they kept putting in money in the business that they could have taken to China, okay? So they were up to over 300 employees. I just want to say that they pay over $250,000 in taxes, okay? They employ 300 people. It's not a question of a billboard. You're getting a billboard. There's a billboard is approved. There is a billboard approved. The DOT approved it. The lawsuit says it's not an issue, okay? The court, it's a static billboard, which has lights on it. You're just talking about semantics now, every 8 seconds or every 3 months, okay? My personal opinion is first responders during Sandy would have loved having a digital board right there because they could have gave information that we all needed. And I know the stats that said 1 per 20, okay? I'm sure they would have gave more. And as a personal resident of the town, if every 20th one, I can know if Blackwell's Mills is closed before I drive all the way down there, it would be a big bonus for people driving on 287 that get off at that Eastern Avenue. I also think that the local businesses, I can't afford a billboard. I sell retirement plans to companies in the area. I can't afford a billboard, but I could afford an 8-second spot on a billboard, be it South Plainfield or this location. So it would help local businesses, okay? Plus, I'm sure, I don't know the logistics, but I'm sure there's some ratables that this piece of property would generate. So I'm kind of not really understanding the issue here. And since my taxes this year finally went over $16,000 on my home, the thought of spending another 30, 40, 100, whatever the money is to appeal this is not really appealing to me, because you could get one more police officer for what we spent for the first go-round, and that's kind of what the town needs. They don't need more time wasted on this, and I'm sure people don't want it there, but you know what? I don't like cell towers, but I need cell towers for my cellular phone. It's not a perfect world, okay? The road was there, the homes were built after the road was there, and I think common sense should rule the day here, and I think we should stop wasting time and let's push forward and approve this, get this off the table, and move forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. And then Mr. Goldberg after that.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi.
My name is Sharonda Pinckney. I'm a resident at 110 Lindsay Court in Franklin Park, New Jersey. I am a Rotoclip employee. Before you all started today, there was prayer that started, so hearts, I hope, are touched by my story. I've been an employee there maybe 6 years, advanced to management, because they invested in me. They believed in my skill set to help them grow. I believe they always think of win-wins in helping us. Someone else mentioned Sandy. When Sandy came, they made sure I had gas in my car. They made sure that I was taken care of. I've always felt supported by them. There's nothing they wouldn't do to make sure that I was okay. And I think that translates into the way they do business. I also agree with what the gentleman said about the comments about China. Irrelevant. They support American business. They support the town. I'm a resident in Franklin Park because of my job. I was not a homeowner. I'm now able to do that, and that's really all I have to say. I support the decision to have the billboard, and that's where I stand.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Goldberg, then Mr. Finkelstein.
Oh, I never saw the other brother.
Good evening. My name is Paul Goldberg. I'm a resident of Franklin Township for 43 years. I've had a business in Franklin Township for 36 years. My 3 children went to the public schools in town. My oldest daughter now is running the business. I am a taxpayer twofold, my home and my business property. I'm concerned that the council is fighting an issue against a company that has given to the food bank, that has given to the Chamber of Commerce, that has given to many organizations in our community. They care about our community. They don't want to leave our community. I don't think the council should fight them. I think they should congratulate them on the work that they've done in our community. 300 employees, they pay high taxes. Businesses pay high taxes. A gentleman said that he didn't think the business taxes were relevant. I'm telling you now, the business taxes are very relevant. In 2008, the homeowners' taxes went down slightly, and the business taxes in the community jumped tremendously. The businesses of the community support the community. My 20 years on the Chamber of Commerce proved that. I served as its president. I've served as the president of the Franklin Food Bank. The Salas brothers have offered time on their billboard for the food bank. Now, the food bank does a lot for this community. It's a wonderful organization. I support it 100%. I've been involved in a fundraiser for the food bank that has raised almost $300,000. That's the Tour de Franklin. That money goes towards buying food for our members in the community. Now, the Salas brothers have offered free time for us on this billboard, and I don't want to pass that up. I think that's a wonderful offer. I think they're two wonderful brothers. They've done a lot for us, and we should support them. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Finkelstein.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Steve Finkelstein. I live at 46 Johnson Road in Somerset. I've been there for over 25 years. I have a small business in town. I'm an attorney in town. And I'd like to echo what Mr. Goldberg has said. This town has invested, from what I understand, $120,000 in this lawsuit. It seemed to me, in looking at the issue, that it was clearly a constitutional issue. We are fighting one of the largest employers in town, and as you've heard here, an employer that gives to our town. I think it is a fool's errand to be antagonistic to this employer, especially on constitutional grounds. From what I've seen of the issue, I have my doubts as to whether this issue has been pushed to propel the various political issues of certain persons in town. I don't think that's a fair use of our tax dollars. I would be very, very disappointed in this council, each of whom I voted for as a registered Democrat. I would be very disappointed in this council if they invested more money in an expensive appeal of what is clearly a constitutional issue. This business, Rotoclip, invests in our town, pays taxes in our town, employs hundreds of people in our town, who of course spend money in our town and support other local businesses. I don't see the point of being antagonistic and pursuing this appeal. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And, yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Just wanted to echo everything
Sorry,
that
sir.
you heard.
Your name and address, sir,
Sorry,
please.
my name
Pardon
is
me.
Jeff Bahar, 3 Stoneleigh Way, Somerset, New Jersey. I've lived here for 20 years. Both of my daughters went to the high school as well as the elementary school system through Franklin Township. Some of the things that I personally lament about is how money is spent in government. And for me, what I'm hearing tonight regarding a billboard that could possibly spur additional business for our town is being fought. And I truly don't understand the reasoning why. I listened to the initial gentleman that spoke. But for me, what really matters is logic in this particular case. And in rewarding the gentlemen that have done so much for the township, I think that we as a town owe them a debt of gratitude as well. And this to me doesn't seem to be a very big issue. $120,000 already spent and more money to come possibly. I think there's other ways to spend the money. We talk about gun violence and everything else. Our schools are susceptible just like any other school district in the country. I think we need to think about logic and use the money for well-intentioned purposes, and I believe this might not be one of those things. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Hello, my name is Giuseppe Rubino, owner of Cafe Alfredo's on Easton Avenue. As a business owner, I see how economic times have really put pressure on my business. And a billboard in the township would definitely benefit me because the key to success really would be advertisement as one of the major factors. Talking about the Slash Brothers, I've had plenty of times where I have had equipment fail on me and things that have been broken, and they've repaired stuff at no charge whatsoever. So, as a business owner, I could tell you that they help me a lot through repairing stuff at no charge, and also their employees coming to my restaurant and supporting my business. They could call somewhere else at a different town and get catering food, probably even at a cheaper price. They use local businesses all the time, and a lighted sign to me is a lighted sign. So if it's digital or halogen lights, it doesn't matter. I mean, I would rather see a different business up there every time I go past it than rather seeing the same billboard for the next 3 months or 4 months that I go up there. The time that the 8 seconds or 10 seconds that my business has an advertisement up there could benefit me with 10 customers daily. You know, anything is better than nothing at this point. So, you know, a billboard for me would really benefit my business. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone? Yes, sir.
Michael Niken, I'm from Great Meadows, New Jersey. I'm a personal friend and employer of Rotorclip. I've been with Craig for like 10 years at his factory, and being that I come here tonight, I'm actually a farmer from day one, dairy farmer. So I seen you had a little agriculture presentation here tonight, which is very, heartwarming to me. But from what I can say, I couldn't make it on a farm because there's no money to be made on a farm. From what I could say, I do a little agriculture behind Craig's factory. We do some tree growing and turn it into an agriculture for the deer and the animals. And he's done good for the animals back there because there's really no place for the deer to go. So basically, what I see that these people do are good for people, and I'm here today just to say that I'm sticking up for a man that wants to help. And when we worked on a farm together, we worked together and it worked. And when the prices went down and people couldn't work together, it couldn't work anymore. You don't see many farms alive and going anymore. It's over and done with. So you have to come with new resources, tree farming, whatever it takes to make a dollar. So thanks to Craig, I'm back to work and doing a different kind of farming. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who hasn't spoken? Oh, yes.
Hello. Liz
Hi,
Nelson.
Ms. Nelson.
Liz Nelson in Somerset. I still don't agree that we should have a billboard. Recently, I've been driving down to Trenton, passing the Princeton area on Route 1, and I noticed, I think they're brand new or recent because I've been away, two hideous new digital billboards. And could I notice what was coming through there? No, those ads were coming very fast. If it's 8 seconds, it's 8 seconds. But all I could say to myself was how ugly this stretch looks with these giant things and how distracting they are. And how everything I'd read about how distracting they are and how dangerous they are probably looks to be true. So I don't want them coming here. Yes, I wish for farmers' sake that there was another way to make farming profitable, but I don't think we can eat billboards, so I don't think we should be supporting stuff like that that really doesn't produce edible things and worthwhile, sustainable things. What else could I say? Business for the town. If I can't read those signs, and it's not safe to read them and look at those phone numbers and try and figure out what that ad is about, how am I going to go to the store or the lawyer's office or whatever it is unless I can read it without crashing into something? So for me, they are an eyesore. They will remain an eyesore, and I think it's a bad idea to get them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Michael Rich, and I live at 36 Cornelius Way, Somerset. I'm here in support of the billboards for two main reasons. Number one, I'm a school district administrator. Safety and security is very big in this day and age. With a billboard like that, it could give information to people in the community that would be helpful in determining a safe and secure environment. The second reason I'm in support of the billboard is for tax purposes. Stop the bleeding. Don't waste taxpayers' money to take on the fight, to continue to fight. We've already been, from what I've learned, informed by a judge that it's going to happen. So those are the two reasons, and I ask you to also support that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Rich. Anyone else who hasn't spoken would like to? Mr. Schaefer.
Good evening, Skip Schaefer, 2 Lair Terrace, Somerset. I'm not pro-billboard, I'm not anti-billboard. I guess my issue is whether or not any legal fight should be done with public dollars versus private dollars. My comments tonight are directed to the council as a governing body and all its incarnations over the years. I can think of lots of times where the council has not spent money wisely. For many years, the council passed a budget that ran the mini dump at a deficit of $150,000 a year for many years. Thankfully, that's been corrected now. Several years ago, the council commissioned a study to see if garbage collection should be brought in-house versus done by private providers, to the tune of $40,000. And the study was so faulty and so flawed that the council didn't even bother presenting it to the public. Several years ago, the township unknowingly accepted a bid, an unethical bid, for telecommunication services. And because there was no real knowledge base or background on township staff to follow up with this bid and see that it was carried out correctly, tens of thousands of dollars were spent needlessly over the course of a 5-year period. A lot of it for services, bills that were just continued to be paid for services that were no longer being provided to town. Over the last year, the council has decided not to take part in a shared services project in regarding to law enforcement services, even though it's been pretty well accepted throughout the state that any real property tax relief in this state is going to happen through the shared services concept, whether it's with the schools, whether it's with legal services, etc. You know, I think the savings to the township would have been $50,000 a year. It was quoted, and Mr. Kramer, you tried to rationalize that by saying, you know, well, that's $25 a household a year. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, let's try to make $50,000 seem even less important, okay? $25 a year is 7 cents a day. And what household is going to be interested in saving 7 cents a day on anything? Now you spent $110,000 in legal fees regarding this digital billboard. A lawsuit that precedent shows did not have any real great chance of success. Was this lawsuit demanded or requested by a majority of the township residents? No. It was requested by a relatively very small group of residents. It was also largely a result of philosophical opposition to the idea of a digital billboard, primarily by two council members. Two council members that are not supposed to be making decisions on behalf of the town based on their own personal, emotional, or philosophical opposition to an idea. Remember that invocation that's read at the beginning of most meetings, where you're supposed to be making decisions based on benefiting the most people possible at all times. I've heard council members say they received 50 phone calls against the billboard. That's possible. You know, there's maybe a dozen homes, 15 homes that might have a view of the billboard. I mean, that hasn't even been proven yet. Either way, the decision to engage in this lawsuit to this expense was in no way to the greater benefit of the township residents. There's 60,000 people in this town now. This lawsuit should have been handled as a private matter, not a public matter. Plus, you have the fact that you had scheduled a public session to hear both sides of this argument last year, including the company that wants to put that billboard up there. And then, before that meeting took place, you canceled that meeting. So both sides of the argument couldn't be heard by the public. How ethical was that? You may have found out at that meeting that there were many more residents that were not opposed to that billboard. But then again, that didn't fit the personal agendas of a couple council members. If your goal is to emulate the partisan bickering in Trenton and Washington, you're doing a good job. If your goal is to spend township money wisely over the years, you know, you've succeeded to a far lesser extent. Instead, we get grade school playground tactics of, you know, sending postcards out saying the mayor won't spend $1.67 on your house to pave your road. And then we get advertisements in high school playbills saying, I stopped the billboard. Remember that the next time it's time to vote. You know, other people have said, spend whatever you can, whatever you have to stop this billboard. You know, this is an argument against a relatively small group of people. Let them fund it. The general public does not need to fund any more fight against this billboard. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else who hasn't spoken would like to speak? Yes. Oh, yes. There you are. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Jan Willard, 11 Ulysses Road. I hate actually having to meet you people like this, but that said, I don't want to waste my time on some of the comments I heard, but this billboard issue is a nationwide issue. These types of lawsuits are going on in town after town, in state after state in this country. Just so you know, I went to the court case, and in court, the SLASs would not tell the judge what it would cost for the advertising. So for you to get half price of whatever, there was no cost set up, and the judge
Ms.
asked
Willard?
the question. Yes.
Oh, over here. You can.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I just want to know because there's a lot of erroneous information.
Yeah, just address that. But we're glad to hear what you have to say.
All right.
Please.
So
Sure.
I also think that the information about jobs, billboards equal jobs, there's no study to prove that. Anything that might suggest that is from the billboard industry itself. So that said, I feel we should put this appeal in. When this was put together, the town had time on both sides to come to these meetings, and we should follow through on the fight. Every town that has put in an appeal has won. Most towns won the first go-round, contrary to what's heard tonight. Home rule. That bottom line, there's no court that can overturn home rule. And the cases that did go to appeals, it was determined, it goes back to the same fact, home rule. And the thing about the DOT, it's erroneous because the DOT, or New Jersey Transit, they can approve an application, but the bottom line is, other than their own property, DOT property that they own. That's the only time DOT is exempt from local zoning. So if the DOT says it's okay, it doesn't mean that we have to say it's okay. They're not sanctioning that this billboard is okay. They're just saying that they would give the permits to it. But what bothers me the most in all of this, we had a committee meeting last Monday, and there's some people sitting up here who spoke quite eloquently for the appeal, and it turns out that from what I've heard, that there's some folks that are, I'll say, reconsidering their comments. So if you're leading committee people that were going for the appeal, and then it turns out that perhaps that may not be so, I know that might be another issue behind closed doors, but, you know, be honest and come out, you know, at the right time. But I just feel it's really imperative that the town follow through with this, because every town wins. And more importantly, there's more and more information coming out. In fact, the Swedish Institute for Traffic Safety just released a study about 10 days ago that makes a direct correlation between traffic signs, digital billboards, and auto accidents. The the United States, lost my train of thought. The Federal Highway Commission will be reviewing this next month. So bottom line is, I think we ought to fight this fight. We need to get the studies done on the dangers. I mean, all these people, you know, are saying that, oh, gee, the billboards are fine. But people could have real injuries, get killed from this, besides being an eyesore. And also erroneously, you cannot put government information on these private billboards. It's as simple as that. I mean, they can't, like even you say that the Federal Homeland Security, you can't turn to a third party government information. So, you know, this idea that somehow we're going to have all these little instant relays about school and so forth, there's no proof, and this was, again was in court, how this thing would transpire. So I just really urge all of you to stick to your guns. Most of the town does support the appeal and assumed it would be such. I'm sure the Slasses are lovely employers. No one has you know, been disparaging towards them, but being good employers and doing what's best for Franklin Township are two different things. And I know these folks have their nice little stories, but bottom line is the Slasses are doing this to make money for themselves. And it's as simple as that. It has nothing to do with the town. They're throwing out a few freebies in order that we pass it. So I really urge all of you to follow through on your commitment and go for the appeal. We will win it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes. See ya.
I'm Craig Urick. I live on JFK Boulevard. I've been a resident for here about 35 years. I'm opposed to the billboard, quite simply for, it's just an eyesore. I don't care if it's a digital one or a non-digital one. And $130,000 to be spent in legal fees, perhaps we could have spent that in more useful ways, like education or whatever. But I think it's money worth spent. We don't want to set a precedent, and I am hoping that the board continues to engage in the appeal process.
Thank you. Yes, sir. And then, yeah, go ahead, and then you can go next.
Good evening. I'm Stan Franzosian. I've lived in this community my whole life. I'm 84 years old. My family came here in the early turn of the century. My family's been here that number of years. This issue of the billboard, I think the main thing hasn't been emphasized, and my son had mentioned to you that I actually witnessed the death of not one, but two 20-year-olds who crashed right in my backyard off of 287 last year. The factor of safety, I only want to make one point very evident. Route 287, as of 1975, was estimated to have 72,000 cars per day. Now, that goes back a while. I wouldn't be surprised if that figure hasn't changed considerably. The factor of safety, I wouldn't want to see one person killed on 287 because they took their eyes off the road to read a billboard. And believe me, that will happen. If you want the responsibility for that, you want this community to recognize that kind of a attitude, then I would say we better not have any billboards because they are life-threatening. And the lives that they threaten may be yours or any of your children. So when you make your decision, please consider that as the most important, significant factor of the billboard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Robert Scottapane. I live at 209 Onizuka Court. I've been here about 25 years. I've already spoke in opposition to the electronic billboard, and I see no reason to change my mind. I urge the council to continue with the appeal. This just simply is not worth taking the chance of anybody getting killed reading this billboard. I know that road. I know it very well. I use it all the time, and I know that intersection there is very dangerous. All this talk that there's no studies that show that there's a correlation, well, there are studies that show the correlation. I'm sorry, that is just wrong. And I hear an awful lot of talk from this side about the concerns of business, but what about the concerns of the people that live here and use the roads all the time? So I hope that you continue with this effort. I see no reason in the world that we have to have this railroaded down our throat. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who hasn't spoken would like to? Yes, sir.
My name is Rob Grinthal. I've lived in this town for 25 years, and I'm in support of the billboard. There are billboards on 287 for miles and miles, and I don't know of all these problems that come up with them, but one thing that strikes me with this town, to use the money that's been spent and to use the money that possibly will be spent to work towards the infrastructure of the town, pave roads. I don't know how you can equate spending $130,000 on trying to eliminate a billboard and saying it's not important to put it back into education. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And Mr. Renone's comments on the billboard make it seem that it's a steep hill to try to stop it at this point. So I just want to go on record as I'm in favor of this billboard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For our policy, people come up once per meeting. Yes, sir, go ahead.
My name is Harsh Patel. I am a GM at the Holiday Inn Somerset and also investor. And I think this billboard issue will help my business as well as eventually directly or indirectly will help Township, as well. So I think it is appropriate to let him having a billboard over there. And we spend unnecessary money for the fighting in the court. Well, Township spends some money and he himself spends money is unnecessary, and the court decision came out on the favor of him. So we should consider it, wisely. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who hasn't spoke? I don't think there's a person. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, seeing that no one else is coming forward, I move we close this portion of the public discussion.
Seconded.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Thank you for your comments and input. Now, just to recap where we're going to go. We're going to go to our two ordinance hearings, and again, I'm going to ask if anyone wants to speak, but that's on these particular ordinances. I suspect that'll go fairly quickly. Then we're going to go into executive session, which is a meeting in private. And then after that, we're going to come out of executive session, and we may or may not take any action at that point. So, per the motion to amend the agenda, we're now going to item 14A. And just quickly, ordinances are usually voted on twice before going into law. They're introduced, then usually the next meeting or two, there is a second vote on the ordinance, and at that second vote, before that, the public is invited to give us their opinions on it. So there are two, and if it's voted on twice, then that goes into law. So there's two which have second votes basically tonight. The first is 14A, ordinance number 4000-13. It's an ordinance amending the municipal code, chapter 106, bingo and raffles, designating the municipal clerk as the issuing authority for bingo and raffle licenses within the Township of Franklin. Basically, what this does is allow the township clerk to authorize bingos, raffles, etc., instead of every one of them coming to a vote of the council. The township attorney has approved the affidavit of publication, and public hearing is in order. The motion to open the meeting for a public hearing on this ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Meeting is open for public discussion on this particular ordinance. Anyone who wishes to speak, please raise your hand.
Mr. Mayor, upon seeing no one coming forward, I motion that we close this section of public.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Public discussion is closed for this ordinance. Thank you. Is there a motion for final passage of the ordinance and publication in accordance with law?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 14A, ordinance 4000-13, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Next, we have the second and last of the ordinance hearings. This item 14B on the agenda, ordinance number 4001-13, an ordinance amending the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 236, Municipal Services, Schedule A, Sterling Point. Basically, within complexes, when they're complete or virtually complete, the lighting cost goes to the municipality, and that's what this is for Sterling Point. The township attorney has approved the affidavit of publication, and a public hearing is in order. Is there a motion to open the meeting for a public hearing on this particular ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Public hearing is open, the public discussion is open for this ordinance. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
upon seeing no one moving forward, I make a motion to close this section of public hearing.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Public hearing is closed for this ordinance. Thank you. Is there motion for final passage of the ordinance and publication in accordance with law?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 14B, ordinance 4001-13, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay. Motion is passed. Thank you. Now, per the amendment earlier, we're going to item 19, executive session, resolution 13-72, to authorize an executive session. Usually executive sessions are at the end of the meeting, and this time, because of its relevance, it was moved up. There's only certain times we could meet in private, which is what an executive session is. That's in areas of personnel or litigation such as that. So it's a executive session for litigation E&J equities. Is there a motion? Okay. We have presented the resolution for consideration, Resolution 13-072, authorized executive session litigation E&J securities. Is there a motion for this resolution?
Mr. Mayor?
So moved.
Councilman Kramer, then we'll. Okay.
I'd like to modify the motion. I'd also like to discuss possible negotiation with Millstone Township or Bureau over court costs.
Okay. Okay, so it deals with negotiation regarding Millstone Township, our neighbor.
Millstone
Over-
Borough.
Millstone
But-
Borough, thank you.
Millstone
But-
Township is in Monmouth.
But we're not
that's
considering
pretty big.
litigation. That
No, we're
hasn't been even
considering
seen
no-
as an option.
We're considering negotiation.
Oh, I said litigate, maybe negotiation. I'll ask our attorney, is that okay? Topic for executive session?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So the motion is basically to amend the resolution, E&J Equities to add Millstone Borough. Okay, is there a second for that?
Seconded.
Can I just do it or should I vote?
Well, you can do it by voice vote unless there's,
Okay. Okay, all in favor of amending it to add Millstone Borough court cost negotiation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained, motion is carried. Okay, now, back to the motion for the resolution for executive session for these two items. Is there such?
I second it.
Okay.
He moved.
Okay, and that's okay, you'll move it with both pieces, right, Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Okay, and seconded by
Yes. It's amazing.
Councilman Kramer. Okay, Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the resolution for executive session, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois? Yes. Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
I guess I have no choice, yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman? Councilman Vasanella? Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay, okay, motion is carried. We're going to go into executive session. If you are watching this live at this point, since we'll be in executive session, you'll probably see our Minuteman, and I think with the sign that tells you we're in executive session. Okay, and we will return when that is done. Just in executive session for the items of, it was Resolution 13-72, I think that was it, litigation, E&J equities, and also negotiations, Borough of Millstone. Where am I? There I go. Okay, and so is there a motion to come out of executive session?
So, seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. We're out of executive session. So what I'll ask first is for our attorney to give us a quick summary of what happened, and then we can make a motion or not on any of those issues. So, Mr. Raynone?
just quickly, Mayor, I gave a summary on the decision in the E&J Equities case. Obviously, council has now had an opportunity to discuss this in executive session. The question that's before council for tonight at this point is whether or not council will authorize the filing of an appeal. The matter is E&J Equities versus the Township of Franklin. The docket number is L-1526-10, so that the record understands what it is. And it's an appeal from the decision of Judge Bucksbaum, which was issued on January 4th, 2013.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Is it time to make a motion? Yes, okay. I would like to make a motion that we go ahead with the appeal to the appellate division on this case.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Okay, I'll do my discussion. So, I'm not in favor of an appeal at this point for several reasons. One part is spending the taxpayer money wisely, which in my opinion we're not doing by going ahead with that for several reasons which have been delineated before. Everything from I don't think we're going to win the issue to, well, I shouldn't say I don't think we're going to win. I'm not a lawyer. It's there's arguments on it. And I'm going to take a step back. To be clear, so we're sure, this is not a billboard or no billboard issue. If we were banning billboards, I may very likely say, don't have any billboards. But it's not. It's the static billboard with the light, or a digital billboard, which seems to me kind of like a large computer monitor or TV screen. It's been argued that that is more intrusive. This is me personally. I don't see it that much. It seems to me that the residents may be better off with the digital because it'll be less intrusive, though I can say it was pointed out that the changing may grab their attention. I can see why you're saying that. In fairness, I could see us during the last catastrophe, which was Hurricane Sandy, and being able to put up our PSAs such as the road is closed, this is what's happening, do not travel here. And I'm guessing that though they're not required, E&J Equities may be generous enough to do that for us. And I think it's just have to, no matter what, for all of us, there's going to be people who agree with our decision and not agree with it. So my taking a stand is let it be, let it go forward, and I think that would be best for the residents in the area and the taxpayers in town. And that's my take. Anything else? Not. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on the resolution, I guess it is, to a yes vote being yes appeal and a no vote being no do not appeal.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois? Yes, I think Deputy Mayor Sherman or Councilman Vasanella should have summarized why they made the motion to appeal before we go forward.
Okay, we'll take a step. I can do that, I guess, right?
Deputy Mayor?
There was a lot of discussion, obviously, pro and con. There was a sense that it is, obviously, we're not going into this because we don't think we're going to win, because we do think we're going to win. The issues that were presented against us by the appellate division, we believe, by the lower court, we believe can be overturned by the testimony of what we will bring to the court that will be reviewed in the appeal decision. We feel the quality of life for our residents is very critical in this whole process. If we can defend against that, I think we have done a great service for our community, and I feel that it is the right thing to do for Franklin Township. The costs will be hopefully less than what we saw before, but that's not the issue. Of course, we don't want to spend huge amounts of money on it, but we are going to make sure that we defend what is appropriate for our residents.
Councilwoman Francois, was that?
Yeah, I just thought since the motion was made that it should have been clarified why it was made.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
No.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay. Motion is carried. So we'll go along those lines. Okay. So next we go back to the agenda to, I guess we're at item number 9, which is standing committee reports. Right?
This is not, Mr. Mayor, this is not the first meeting of the month. Oh, that's right, we put them off.
Right.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. And so, we'll go through. So the first one is administration. Anyone from administration want to give a report to the council? Okay, if not,
There hasn't been an admin meeting this month. One is scheduled for
We meet Thursday.
okay. And actually, I just want to interject also, if there's no objection, when we broadcast this to everyone, if we just let them know there's an executive session, but not give them an hour of dead air, I guess that's okay with people, right?
That's fine.
You mean, so you're moving to remove the hour of dead air?
Yeah.
To break our rule of unedited,
Maybe give the
I'll
manager.
second that
Yeah.
motion.
Okay.
So that sounds logical.
Okay, I guess there's no, okay, let the manager do that too. Okay, thank you. So then we'll go to second one, Standing Committee, Financial Oversight.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Kramer.
Thank you. The one issue was the Millstone Borough owing us a sum of money for having not paid the court costs because they use our courtroom. They hadn't paid us for, I believe it was 11 years. We had also not billed them for that 11 years. So there was a discussion on what we should charge them. That was just discussed in executive session, and I guess since those notes have not been released and we are still negotiating with them over that, I will not mention what the final decision was. We also discussed auto pay for taxes and water bills. So just as with your PSE&G bill, you can have it set up so that your payments go to them automatically. It was discussed whether we should do that for taxes and water bills. The mayor and I were for it. Eventually, or actually, I believe Mr. Wright and Mr. Regan were against it. Their concerns were that it might present some liability to the town because we might have bank information of people, and if the website was hacked, or if our computer was hacked, that could reflect on the town. The decision was for staff to check into it further to see if there were ways around that. This would be something that we could offer as a convenience to people so they wouldn't either have to send in the check or wouldn't have to wait in line here to pay. There was also an issue about the emergency polling locations we used at this last election due to Sandy. We had to decide early on whether we were going to use some flooded out polling locations. So we made some changes to some, and went to some fire stations. They had sent us a complaints or a bill for damages done, and it was the opinion of the Financial Oversight Committee that the election was held by the county, and they should refer their damages to the county. Then the issue of liquor licenses came up, and we had originally, I believe, put them out asking 300,000. That we got nothing. But originally, wasn't it 300? Okay, so the original was 250, and no one bought. So I thought we had gone out twice, but went out once.
We did, at 250.
Okay, went out twice at 250, okay. No one decided to buy one, so we are now, the decision of the Financial Oversight Committee was to go out now for 200,000, one for a consumption license, so that would be a bar or a restaurant, and the other would be for a retail license, that would be for a liquor store. So those will be offered at those prices. We also had three department heads, the police, Finance Committee and Municipal Court report to us about their intended budget requests. We went through them line by line and had a number of questions for them. And actually, we had further questions on a line item for the police that they didn't have the details with them at the time, and they'll be coming back to fill us in on those details. That concludes the report.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have public safety. Anyone have time to meet yet?
So the public safety did meet. I don't think, we don't have the minutes, but I'll
Okay.
chime out some things I did, and if any other members think of things.
Yeah, Councilman
So
Dean.
there are a number of items that were discussed at the last public safety meeting. One was the issue of looking at putting in sidewalks in certain areas of the town based upon needs and safety needs. That no decision or no recommendation has come out of the committee yet to bring forth to council, but that's still in the works. I think at the next, we took an item that at the next public safety meeting, more information would be available and we would make that decision. Did I recall that right?
I think what was discussed specifically was the information supplied by the Board of Education regarding the Franklin Middle School and sidewalks that were missing in the what would be deemed as walking routes to Franklin Middle School within the radius that the Board of Ed sets for walkers. And I believe that the decision of the committee was that we were going to move forward with that as far as we begin our capital budget exploration and where we look at our capital budgets, both in financial oversight and full council. But that also there's a much more comprehensive study that's underway by engineering, planning, and my office, along with the Board of Education and the Traffic Safety Bureau from the Police Department, to include all of the pedestrian destinations and generators, not just the schools. So that's the long-term project, and the short-term was to look at what was deemed as the priority by the Board of Ed, which was the middle school.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else, Councilman Wright, on that issue? Because I know that was important to you coming out of that meeting.
I'm sorry?
Is there anything else on that item? Because I know that was an important issue for you.
As long as we are moving forward with that proposal, with that idea, I'm good to go with that. Thank you.
All right. The other item discussed was we met with the police chief, and we've asked, the recommendation from the Public Safety Committee is to have the chief organize and work together what is deemed to be a education and police forum for the safety in the schools. This would be a forum to occur sometime hopefully in February or March with all the administrator from each of the schools in this town meeting with the chief. And then additionally, to have the chief have him or his designated staff to be an auditor of all the various school safety procedures, specifically in the area of the lockdown procedures. This, interesting enough, has become quite a popular item on the news. I've seen a number of news reports lately that show other towns in the state who are moving forward with this. So this came quite early in our discussion amongst various some council members, the weekend after that tragedy. So we have, as I reported in the last meeting, we are, as a council, are very concerned about this and are working with the chief to move forward in a more working with them in a proactive way with the schools, both the public and the private schools in the town. And I can't remember if was there something else, Councilman, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, didn't we talk about the cameras in the parks?
Oh, yes, cameras in the park. Go ahead, someone.
Yeah, I think Councilman Vasanella would like to discuss this. since
We'll
if
just
you-
briefly
Oh,
mention it because it's been an ongoing issue or idea, and if I understood it correctly, the chief or his designees are going to come back because in general, we want to go ahead and try this on a limited basis in certain locations, but there's a lot of technology involved, and also, the choice of locations. So we hope to iron out those issues and come back to council with a specific recommendation, hopefully in the next month or two. And if we do move forward with a program or a pilot program, then it would be in place later in the year.
And
Yep.
just
Mr. Bornlacher?
just to echo the councilman's words there, I think the plan here is to bring the IT department into this project based on all the technology that's involved, and they've already been brought into the project. And at the next Public Safety Committee meeting, there'll be a discussion with the IT staff along with the members of the committee. And then again, this would be something that we would look much like the sidewalks at the 2013 capital budget, if that's the recommendation that comes out of committee.
That was the other thing. There are really right now 3 possible ways to fund it, some which may not cost us anything, some might come out of trust funds, some might come out of the capital budget. So that was the other aspect, but the technical aspects are probably the most important at this point. And believe me, it's not as though we're trying to delay it, but those facts need to be gathered. And with a little luck, if we do go ahead, the spring, summer months are the ones that probably would be most practical. So we'll see where it goes. We'll bring it back to council as soon as we can.
Okay. So next is land use, open space, parks, and recreation.
We didn't have a
Councilman
meeting last month. We'll have one tomorrow, I think, and we have quite a few items on the agenda.
Okay. And the last of the standing committees, Public Works.
Public Works hasn't met in a while. We do have a meeting scheduled for early next month. I forget the exact date, but the first week in February, I think.
Okay. Thank you very much. So then we'll go to item number 10, council comments. So I guess it's over here, Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
I'll be brief since it's 10:20 p.m. Just want to alert the council and the community that we are having a Black History Month reception sponsored by the Franklin Youth Initiative. It'll be held here at the Municipal Building on Tuesday, February 12th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Refreshments will be served. We will have an unveiling of our 44th President, Barack Obama, official portrait unveiling here. And we will have some youth participation as well. So I'm asking everyone to come out and support our youth. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Brian Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I also will try to be brief. I think the only comment I will have on a lot of the discussion tonight about the decision on appealing, whether or not to appeal is, again, I would encourage all the residents that clearly there are going to be at least two different views on this, 3, there might be people in the middle. But we should be very careful about, judging people in why they have their views or making comments of them or attacking them. I've seen a little from both sides. It's obviously a very emotional issue for many people, especially if you live in that area. It's also an emotional issue for that company and the members who work at that. The role of council at this time is a very difficult one to decide on how to move forward, and there wasn't, complete agreement tonight on how to move forward, but we are, as a council, we've made the recommendation to appeal. And again, that is not, many of us did look at the costs and decided to move forward understanding that. It wasn't a decision that, we willy-nilly are just going to, we want to do this because we want to spend money. In fact, there was very good debate on the issue in the executive session. So I think, I just asked the residents to really understand that, these are difficult decisions, and when we hear from both sides, we encourage that. But it is a very difficult decision to make and move forward on, and it's, we don't take these things lightly. It is done with with a lot of input from our residents. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman James Vasanella.
Yeah, I agree with the statements made by Councilman Regan. And I'll leave it at that. We'll see where it takes us. Other than that, Mayor, the Councilman Chesky, if I'm wrong, the Millstone Raritan Canal Flood Commission which him and I are both members of, will be having a meeting here next month. It will be televised. It may, although there's no hurricanes on the horizon, and hopefully never will be, there is the long-term issue of dealing with flooding that dramatically has affected several towns, including Franklin, along the river, Raritan and Millstone River. I invite you to come out. It should be a very healthy and informative discussion. If you can't make it, of course, you could watch it on TV. I'm not sure if it will be live or just rebroadcast, but right now I believe the plans are for it to be taped and broadcast. And I would like to thank our police department. Although I wasn't able to attend, I understand they gave the Cub Scouts, of which my son is a member of the troop, a tour and of the police department, public safety building. And the Cub Scouts, if my son's any indication, was absolutely enthralled by it. And I appreciate governments reaching out to teach youth about government and our township's public servants. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Ted Chase.
I would agree with what Councilman Regan said about making the decision whether to appeal. This is a classic case of weighing the interests of a comparatively few residents who, however, will be, or believe they will be strongly affected if this billboard goes into place in digital form versus the general sense of should we spend township money. And I think in general we should always lean in the direction of protecting our township residents. The township green team charged with, getting us points for sustainable Jersey. We did have a meeting last month, and I just finally really wrote up the results of that meeting, identifying a whole lot of actions that we should work on to make the township a better place and get us points from Sustainable Jersey. I've sent that out to members of the team. We also filed for a recertification at the bronze level, the lower level, really based on what we already have had approved by Sustainable Jersey. One thing that came up that I hadn't been aware of is the requirements. They really wanted a new resolution of support from the council for the green team and the Sustainable Jersey effort, and there wasn't time to do that. I just submitted the council vote to appoint new members to the green team last August, but I'm hoping that we will soon be developing some actions, some of which may even result in ordinances that will generally improve the town's sustainability. I went to a meeting at Rutgers sponsored by Sustainable Jersey on climate change and flooding, although really, they were developing tools for judging the effect of sea level rise on low-lying parts of towns. However, when I asked, does this include the interactions between either sea level rise and storm surge with flooding from the rivers. They said, no, it doesn't do that as yet. And that's really what would be of direct interest to Franklin, because of course, if a hurricane pushes the bay up the river, fortunately this time we didn't get much rain from Hurricane Sandy, so we didn't have a lot of excess water coming down the river, but that would be the one thing that could make things even worse for Franklin Township. But as Councilman Vasanella says, we are a member of the Millstone Raritan Valley Flood Control Commission. I keep seeing in their minutes that they're going to send us an invoice for our annual dues for 2012, and I'd ask the manager, have we paid that yet?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I know I discussed it with
My God, there's
Scott.
something you don't know?
I readily admit it when I don't know it, and I don't know if we've paid that bill, but I did see it in the minutes that Anne Marie sent out from November, and I mentioned it to Scott Thomas to find out if in fact we had, and he hadn't gotten back to me yet.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, Councilman Phil Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So kind of in conjunction or in parallel with what Mr. Regan was speaking about with investigating safety in our schools, just before I left for the meeting, I sent out the suggestion that we have our council BOE subcommittee meet so we can discuss school safety. That's a committee where there's 4 council people, 3 or 4 BOE members and staff members come. And I've asked that we meet about school safety and also the sidewalk issue. And perhaps they will have other issues they wish to talk about. That actually brings me to a comment that was made by a member of the public about police consolidation, and that quoted me. I believe what I was talking about, the context I was talking about is even at what they projected us to save us money, and there was a lot of question about that projection because it didn't include a lot of the technical fees. But even at the projected amount that they proposed to save us, we would be giving up for $50,000. Control is what I said, and both control and safety. We would not be able to have these discussions that is going on in our public safety and that I wish to have at our subcommittee meeting. And we could have them, and maybe the police would be good enough to come to those, but we would have no control of them, no jurisdiction over them to weigh in. Just as when there was break-ins around town. We would have had, if we did do consolidation, we would have had little to no control over that other than to ask and beg, similar to how when we ask and beg the county to do things. I'm trying to get a crosswalk in on East Millstone across Amwell Road to get to the towpath, which is very important now because the towpath is blocked off in one direction. You can't park there. And we basically have to beg the county to get that done, whereas if we own that road, we could basically do it with a council vote. So sometimes an amount of money such as $50,000 loses a lot of control and a lot of ability, and I believe that was my reference. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Carl Wright?
Gone.
Okay, sorry. Councilman, I figured I would see him. So I just come
No
up-
one, no one has ever tried to have to stand to look over me to see Carl Wright, but so thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that.
Councilman Rajiv Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Franklin High Steppers were here, and they were here for the Community Foundation to request a grant. And I may not be at the next Community Foundation meeting, but we should support them. We've supported them in the past. We should do everything we can to help our seniors, especially in these cash-strapped days. They do good work, and they're serving the community by going and performing for nursing homes, et cetera. The suggestion to our Finance Oversight Committee is to consider looking at PayPal, and that way you're not having any of the issues with data security, et cetera. So, other than that, I ditto to everything that's been said about the billboard issue, and that's it. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Roz Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just two quick points. I'm very happy to see on the consent agenda the letting of the contract for the upgrading of the Franklin Township website. I think it's going to be a great improvement. There was many people involved in the process, and I'm sure they've come up with the right answer and the right company, but the look is going to be more modern, and it's certainly going to be I think make information much more easily accessible. So I'm very excited that will be coming down the pike. And the last thing I just want to mention, I now also have a plate with my phone number on it, not just Councilman Kramer, but I did that for a particular purpose because of the Cultural Arts Council. No way. Because, anytime anyone would be interested in getting involved in the Cultural Arts Council, please feel free to call me, and my number is visible here. We are about to start planning a community choir. I think it's going to be great, and we have a couple of plans in mind. I will keep you all posted, but if there is anyone interested in that, please give me a call, and as plans get more solidified, we will get in touch with you. And that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, say, can you see?
Our first candidate.
Oh, I vote him on to sing. And, just for my comments, someone had come up to the podium and read some of my quotes from the newspaper, and I forget specifically, but I don't remember thinking that they were wrong. So I'll just say whatever quotes the gentleman read, I'll say were probably correct, because I don't remember that. We spoke about the billboards. I talked about that before. Obviously, I voted no, but I'm not going to go over that again. And as the councilman said, I hope this is not breaking the rules, but it was a thoughtful discussion. So that concludes council comments. So go to number 11 on the agenda, council discussion items. Bless you. Budget hearings and council retreat meetings. So Deputy Mayor Roz Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had some discussion about the dates for the budget meeting, and one of the reasons you have in your folder a calendar with March meetings on it. Anne Marie prepared that for everybody. So when we talk about dates, you'll know what conflicts you may or may not have as a result of other committee meetings you may have. We discussed having the first meeting on the 5th of March. There is a sewer authority meeting, hopefully. I guess we can find some dates where there's nothing, like the 11th of March. If that's an agreeable date. I even remembered to bring my calendar. That works for me. So that's, and we're going to try to do it, I imagine, as we did it last year. There were 2 days in a row that we did it. So the 12th, I don't know what TC, oh, the
Township
Town's Council. Oh,
This meeting.
That's us, okay, that doesn't work.
That's this group that gets together.
Okay,
Let's
sorry
tell
about
town
that.
council they have to get out.
Okay, that doesn't work then. It may not be possible to do it 2 days consecutively then. The 11th and the 14th as two possible dates for those, the two meeting dates. Does that work for everybody?
Okay, so the 11th, Monday, the 11th of March,
Right.
and Thursday, the 14th,
No, oh,
for budget hearings, right?
right.
Okay. That work for people? Or do you want, I mean,
Yes.
if we're okay, we can
Yes.
just make the decision.
Yeah,
If not, we can come
okay.
back, but
Good,
I'll put in.
all right.
11th and 14th.
Do we usually do this at
So
7
pick it
PM?
2 days that don't have anything.
Okay, so we've got that. Good.
Okay, last year, we did it in 2 days, but if it turns out we need an extra one, so we'll put another one in there. Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Yes, the other
pardon
issue
me.
was the council retreat. There has been some discussion, and I'd like to open it up, Mr. Mayor, if we can, for other points of view. We did have a retreat last year. We set some goals for our manager. We had a change in leadership, and some of those things have not been completed. They were some very good goals and very worthwhile goals. I'm not sure if there's any reason to have a retreat and talk about these same goals again. The admin committee does keep an eye on them and tries to keep them moving forward. So I think there's work to be done and worthwhile things that will be accomplished as a result of it. So I'm not terribly sure what the value of a retreat would be this year. If anyone has a different opinion, certainly go ahead and voice it.
Mayor?
Councilman Vasanella?
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a different opinion. I just also wanted to state, besides the change in leadership in the manager's office, we also had Sandy, which took a lot more time by a lot more staff than we ever could have anticipated. So I agree that those priorities, we all seem to think are still the priorities. What would be good is, as they're being handled by the various committees and staff assigned to them, that perhaps by the end of the quarter, we can get some kind of hard timeline or update as to how they're progressing through, internal emails or reports, so that we can all, though, see how all the individual initiatives are going. And I agree that we just move along like that and do not have the retreat as mentioned.
Okay.
If there are no other
Yes.
comments.
All right, my take on the retreat is it's good because it could be like a corporate strategy session, but if there's nothing to do, I don't want to meet just for the sake of having a meeting. So, anyone else with that? Okay, unless further notice, we're not doing it now.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, so next we come to item number 12, approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the work session regular meeting of December 11th, 2012?
So moved.
A second.
Moved and second. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on approval of the minutes.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois. Yes. Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
I abstain, I wasn't here.
Councilman Regan.
Yes, I have to abstain. I was not at that meeting.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Pardon me. Okay, next we have item number 13, approval of the warrants. The warrants are the bills that we pay. Warrants in the amount of $3,194,257.07 on January 22nd, 2013 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Is there motion to pay the warrants as read?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please pull the council on payment of the warrants.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilman Regan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Next, we would be coming to item 14, ordinance hearings, but we did that earlier in the meeting. So now we come to ordinance introductions, of which there are 3. The first is 15A on the agenda, ordinance 4002-13, refunding bond ordinance authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $8 million aggregate principal amount of open space trust fund refunding bonds, Series 2013, by the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, known as the Township, for the purpose of refunding certain bonds heretofore issued by the Township and appropriating the proceeds of such refunding bonds to such purpose. Excuse me.
Could they make that more?
This is basically refunding open space bonds with a lower rate, as rates are down, and which will save the town money. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, February 12th, 2013, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on item 15A, ordinance 4002-13, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilman Regan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. We next have 15B, ordinance 4003-13, an ordinance of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, authorizing the acceptance of conservation easement and deed of dedication from Vico Process Equipment Incorporated to Township of Franklin for premises known as Block 528.05, Lot 19.29, and Block 528.05, Lot 19.32, that was formerly Block 528.05, lots 19.19 and 19.25. This is for business in town, Vico Process Equipment, on Elizabeth Avenue, which basically gives us a standard conservation easement, I believe because they're expanding. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing, and final adoption on Tuesday, February 12th, 2013, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on item 15B, ordinance 4003-13, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilman Regan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. We next now have the third and final of the ordinance introductions, 15C on the agenda, ordinance 4004-13. This is an ordinance of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, authorizing the acceptance of conservation easement from L'Oreal USA Products, Inc., to Township of Franklin, for premises known as Block 86.01, Lot 10.30, and Block 86.03, Lot 10.32. This is L'Oreal on Commerce Drive. We're getting conservation easement as they're building a solar farm. Very good. And another green thing for us to do. This foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing, and final adoption on Tuesday, February 12th, 2013, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on item 15C, ordinance 4004-13, please.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilman Regan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Now we come to our consent agenda. Consent agenda are items of a basically routine nature that the council can vote to pass in or not. In one vote, it's any council person's prerogative to have any item removed for a second vote. So we have on the consent agenda, items A through AG. These are listed on the consent agenda portion of the meeting. They're presented to the Township Council for adoption. Is there discussion or motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the consent agenda.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Kramer.
Yes.
Mayor Levine.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilman Regan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Next is item 17, resolutions voted on separately, of which there are not any this evening. So we come to number 18, old business, which is board and commissions appointments. This is opening for any open boards or commissions. So are there nominations for anyone here from the council?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, actually,
Councilman Chase and Councilman
Go ahead.
Prasad.
I think for one of these, we're probably making the same nomination to the Advisory Recreation Council to appoint Bharat Patel. You have his citizen leadership form before you, and this also was emailed out quite some time ago. He is a cricketer. He would be essentially replacing Janet Parker, who Councilman Prasad says now spends a lot of her time outside the township and did not indicate interest in reappointment, but I know they have worked together in representing the issues of the cricketers in the township. The second appointment I'd like to make, nomination I'd like to make is to renominate John Walker as a Class C member of the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee. At the time of reorganization, he had not indicated whether he was interested in being reappointed. He did come to the last Historic Preservation Advisory Committee meeting, and when asked, said yes, he would like to be reappointed. As you can see, his attendance has been good, so I would recommend his reappointment.
Okay, and Mr. Bharat Patel for the Advisory Recreation Council for the term expiring December 31st, 2015?
Yeah.
Okay. And Mr. Walker, John Walker, same thing as he was, Historic Preservation Advisory Committee, Class C member. I guess it's expiring 2016, December 31st, 2016.
Yeah, they have, you remember, we revamped the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee. Basically, they will have 4-year terms, although they started out staggered, but we're now going into the first round of reappointments to it.
Okay. Are there other nominations for these or other positions? Okay. If not, all in favor of Mr. Patel and Mr. Walker as delineated by Councilman Chase by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Congratulations to both gentlemen. We appreciate all the service that everyone gives us. We couldn't operate without our volunteers. So executive session we already did, which leads us to item 20, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. We are adjourned. Thank you.